Hey everyone, we are back with another episode of This is Tech Talks, and this is episode number 17. And we are glad to have Kevin finally joining us. We have been discussing about an collaboration like since long time, and then finally everything like okay, let's do this because RsPack reached V1, right? So they reached finally version one. So I think this is the best time to do discuss about RsPack. And today we have our co-host Sonu and Jay joining us. Hey Sonu, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you, Santosh?
Doing great, doing great. I remember like last time we saw each other was 3 4 months back. So
Yes, yes.
Jay, how are you? How about you?
It's good to be back. It's really good to be back seeing you guys and recording and meeting new guests like Kelvin and stuff like that. So I miss this. I miss it for sure.
And welcome to the show, Kevin. And before we go ahead and, of course, we are going to talk about RSPAC, why don't you just introduce yourself, like what you do?
Yeah, thank you so much, Santosh, Sanu, and Jay. Nice to meet you all. Hi everyone, my name is Kelvin. I am the lead maintainer of sailsjs, and I'm also a Binance innovator. So it's a program by Binance. If you use their open source tech and you love it, like I do love RsPack and RsBuild, which is why we're here. So I am, I'm a full stack JavaScript developer. I build a lot of stuff, write a lot of articles and YouTube videos. So I just like teaching everything I know. So yeah, fun to be here.
Nice.
So let's start with the RSPAC, right? So I'm sure like this is like a very new tool, and not many people probably know about what RSPAC is. So can you just tell us like what RSPAC and how it started, probably?
Yeah, for sure. So RsPack is, in terms of awareness, sort of fairly new, but it's kind of been a while, I think, and it's really an interesting tool because it came out of a real business use case of Binance. So of course, from the name RsPack, you'll be thinking, oh, Webpack. Yes, yes, there's Webpack in the history. So I know we all, kind of dunk on Webpack. Oh, Webpack is slow. There's the new and shiny. But it really paved the way for bundling tools on the web. So we got to give it its flowers. But Webpack was written in a language that wasn't made to be used for such a thing, JavaScript, right? So of course it has to suck in a certain way because it was slow, of course, and all that. So what the team at Binance did was that they really loved the architecture of Webpack because architecture wise, Webpack is sort of like s- very, very sound compared to other bundlers out there. So they was like, you know what, we like Webpack, but why not we remove the one flaw Webpack had, which is JavaScript, and let's write it in Rust because of course, like that's the thing, right? Like Rust really is a really fast language. So they did take the Webpack API and wrote it in Rust, and that's what RsPack is. But they didn't stop there really. They made it 100% compatible with the Webpack API. So the friction to move from Webpack is little to none. There's migration guides, and I've seen team move, but that wasn't even what I'm really excited about because when I saw RSPack, we all know we don't like Webpack's configuration, all the loaders, oh no, we don't. But they were like, I think what was missing in Webpack was this user-friendly DX, something like Vite, right? Like where you could just have have all these smart defaults out of the box and you just use it for your web dev stuff. And then they gave RsBuild, which is have all these opinions, which is like the Vite alternative. So yeah, so it just based on RsPack, RsBuild, it just like make building stuff super easy, and it just take the whole bundling game on another level, and which I fell in love with.
It's fantastic. We use it for our APIs and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
You're already using MG?
Yeah, we use it for almost all of our backend APIs are compiled with RsPack right now.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. So what are you using? An Nest.js?
Yeah, it's all
Oh,
Nest. Yeah.
oh, interesting. So are you using NX or
Yep.
without
Yep,
NX?
using NX, and then NX has a plugin for it as well at NX/RsPack. So they've had that for
Oh, okay.
a while, like way back. It was under NX Labs for a while, and I think they're gonna move it into the main NX repo now that RsPack hit 1, but don't quote me on that because I don't actually know.
Yeah,
Just
sure,
they,
sure.
Yeah.
I think that's what they said, if I remember correctly.
Oh, interesting. It's going mainstream. So, Sunil,
Oh, yeah.
do you have any questions on RsPack? You heard about RsPack before?
Yeah. I would like to know, how easy it is for a developer to migrate from Webpack, or another build tool to RsPack.
I will give you a first person experience of how I did it because so I built this thing called the boring JavaScript stack based on sales and some other things. So I was using Webpack before as the bundler, right? And I wanted something, something really faster. Like, of course, we don't like Webpack. So I did a couple of experiments. I tried a lot. I tried ESBuild. It didn't really work for me because ESBuild is very low level. There's not a lot of opinions, so you got to piece your own things together. I tried Vite. Vite, no, because sailsjs is more CJS than ESM, and Vite is more ESM forward. So it didn't really work for me to use it the way I needed to use it. But then I found out RsPack, right? At first, I was skeptical because the API did look like Webpack, of course, loaders and stuff, but I don't know. I was just scrolling Twitter and then I saw RsBuild, right? And I was like, oh, okay, this is fun. I looked at it like, okay, come out of the box, CSS support and all the TypeScript support and stuff. I was like, okay, let's try it. I tried it. Amazing. I did it for like, what, a day just to like get it all up and running. Right now, we have a new bundler build tool in sales called Shipwright, which is based on which is based on RsBuild, which of course uses RsPack. So I would always tell people if your project is web dev, use RsBuild. Just move from Webpack to RsBuild because it just comes with good defaults. So if you don't like configs, but if you have like maybe so I'm working on a VS Code extension, and of course, it's not like a web project, right? It's an extension. So I use RsPack itself for that use case, right? So if you're doing web dev, just go to RsBuild and just see the move. It is really, really simple because most of the configs you have, I bet you get rid of like 60% of it. Even not even more because it just comes up with all these defaults. All right. So yeah, so that's just it. It's so much easy to move. But if you want to like get a one-to-one mapping, then use RsPack, which of course you have the config, but I don't know who would want more configs, but I don't know.
Interesting. So, just a question around you mentioned something like, of course, you wanted to have a CommonJS build and we
Yeah.
only supported ESM. So, how does RsPack handles it? Do they support both or?
Oh yeah, they do support both. Like it is painless. So if you're doing CGS build or ESM build, it's out of the box, which is something I feel I'm a little bit opinionated about because, like yesterday, I tried updating to Tailwind Preachers plugin, the latest version, and then I was warned that you can't use it in CGS because now we are ESM only, and I'll be like, why? I don't think there's anything wrong with CGS. I still use it, so I feel like even though, of course, we'll think ESM is good, there are a lot of projects, especially enterprise projects, that are still doing CGS, and it's okay for us not to like need them to move because there's nothing wrong with CGS. It's just ESM is like a newer standard, right? So I feel it's fine if you want to use CGS. But the cool thing about RsPack, because they know this, they have both builds, they have CGS, so they out of native support for both. It doesn't feel like it's an hack to get ESM build or CGS build out of the box. So it's really really good for that.
Just this is an open question for everyone. I see like more
Yeah.
and more people talking about going ESM first, and now like there are tools which comes out of even and still supporting CJS. So, what's your thought?
Uh, yeah, I mean, like the CJS ESM story is still far from perfect, right? Like, I know there's a lot of new modern tools that make it really easy to just work with whatever. Like, Vite just works, Bun just works, RsPack just works typically, right? You still do run into some issues down the line when, say, like, maybe you choose to not bundle your dependencies for a node backend kind of thing, right? And then you don't realize that your code is being compiled to CJS, and then it tries to, require an ESM at runtime. And like, there's still like all these weird little like it doesn't just work yet, even though you may be using a tool that supports it. Now, this isn't usually an issue with web dev because you're actually like literally just bundling everything, right? So like it all just gets compiled into one asset anyway. My frustration more comes from like the backends, the Node API side of it, right? But it's getting better. Every so often I'll upgrade a package though, and then everything will explode, and then I'll go and read the issues on the GitHub, and it's like, oh, by the way, version 4 is ESM only now, and there's like a bunch of issues about people complaining, right? So like that definitely still happens, but we're getting there. And the nice thing is these new modern tools are pushing Node itself to improve the ESM CJS story, right? Like the new versions of Node. I just read the release notes for, I think it was 22.9.0 yesterday, and they now auto detect. Well, they'll try to load as one, and if it fails, they'll like silently load as the other kind of thing, and then fall back to their package resolution after that. So like these new tools as innovation, this is how innovation works, right? The new tools push the old tools to improve. So we're slowly moving, but it's not perfect yet. It's far from perfect. And then throw in testing tools like anything that's not beat test effectively, and you're just like, it's just everything blows up again because Jest doesn't support ESM, and all the other Mocha and Jasmine and Chai and et cetera, right? So yeah. There's my rant on ESM for the morning.
I mean, of course, I know about Jest because, of course, it almost broke all of my tests because I was upgrading to Angular to a next version, and it was like complaining suddenly about ESM. And then we had to figure it out like somehow. Okay, but yeah. So any experience falling into this pitfall of ESM versus CJS?
Yeah, so I completely agree with all of you essentially, right? That it's great to have ESM, but like Jay said, it's not there yet. And I personally like to have both and be able to use, depending on the system, what needs to be used. CGS is just already really well established, right? So I think that's what a lot of systems use. And until ESM is fully adopted, which I think is going to take some time, I think we need to provide CGS and ESM.
People will keep breaking our dependencies.
Or better interop between the tools, right? Like going full ESM for libraries is fine as long as the tooling is able to interrupt, right? And especially if, say, like you're able to run your application with Node directly, like Node main.js, and then have it be able to require ESM. Like if that could happen, then we're kind of like golden until we actually figure everything out. But that feels like to me the one little hiccup. Again, that's more relevant to the stuff that isn't being compiled into a single bundle, like web dev. Like with RsBuild, you're just going to end up with all your different chunks that get loaded, right? So it's not really a problem there. But yeah, because it does just support the whole CJS, ESM, UMD, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right?
So one question on RsBuild, because of course Vite, as far as I understand, it's like a plugin based tool, right? I mean, you can literally create any new plugin and just plug it into Vite. So why didn't like RsPack thought of doing this and rather than creating RsBuild for example?
Yeah. So Vite, of course, Vite is good. Vite definitely did a lot of cool stuff. In fact, it deserves its flowers. All right. So RsBuild also have plugins, but just like Vite, it comes with a lot of things out of the box, right? Like you probably won't even need to, but if you have to write a plugin, I actually did write one a while ago. It's really, really very, very simple to write a plugin if you want to. All right. I feel it's despite the fact that currently, I think what is it 3 times faster than Vite? I feel like it's a good alternative if you want a more Webpack architected tool, right? And yeah, so that's just what I feel.
Okay, so it's like a replacement. Let's say if you want to migrate from Webpack. So okay, good. I mean, I was just wondering like where does it really fits in? So great. So our last episode, which was published, was about Vite, right? And Vite was they're talking about like doing a roll down, which is like the Rust version of rollup. So
Mhm.
do you think like after that, like what will be the difference? Like, because RS build or RsPack is totally rewritten into Rust, and now Wheat, which uses rollup, and they are now also rewriting their stuff in Rust, right? So do you have any idea about
Yeah.
like where it is going?
Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, we're all going to converge. Like, Rust is it's a good language to use for bundler tools, but roll down is more going to be more architected, like it's just going to be Rust based roll up, right? But the reason why I like RsBuild and RsPack, it's more of like from the perspective of the team and the company building it. Instead of like, I like boring tech and tech that are more focused on business use case than actual just, not that there's anything wrong with community-based tool. I feel like the Binance need for RsPack and RsBuild is going to push it to be good for everyone that's going to adopt it because it's a key part of the infrastructure at Binance. They need fast builds, they need fast HTML, they need module federation and all that stuff. So this actual business use case has always been what have made me adopt every tech that I've ever adopted. Where like we're not building this because of okay, we can build something faster because we do need it. So it's more of the vision for me. Like okay, Binance needs RsPack and RsBuild to be superbly good. So I'm going to back on that's going to trickle down to make it this great bundler. And it's fine for there to be alternatives and for us to have different flavors. But my flavor has always been like, okay, this is going to get really better along the line because of the investment by the company who wants to make sure that okay, this really is really good and is really great even for everyday users and for enterprise users as well. So that's just going to be it. More like the vision and the reason why each is being built by those teams.
Yeah, that's good to hear. The one thing I think you mentioned a few times, you said configuration is easy, DX is good. Can you talk a bit more about the DX experience, right? Like, so I know my DX experience with Webpack is pretty bad. I always have to look up the API, I have to look what's going on. It's so easy to make mistakes, right, with Webpack. What is your experience with that? Like I said, you mentioned DX. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
The DX is superb, really, because we have tools like RS Doctor, for example. I don't know if you know it. It's just like this both Webpack and RsPack compatible build tool, diagnostic tool that will like, you just run, you see the size of your build, if you're doing anything wrong and all that, so that you could, make it better. So it's called RS Doctor. It is both compatible with RsPack, Webpack, and of course RS Build extraction. Like I said, the DX comes from because I like DX that is driven by business use because we wouldn't want the developers to spend too much time with configs and stuff and like just chasing down bundler problems. So of course that's going to hurt the business, right? So those needs sort of like trickle down into making sure that RsPack and RsBuild have the lowest barrier to entry. Like, I'm not a very big fan of build tools, but I was able to like use RS build really simple. And I don't like bundler tech. I just want to abstract them, touch it once and don't use it anymore. So if I can adopt it, I'm not liking bundler tech. So think about someone who's coming from Webpack, who is used to all the loaders and things, and then they have this Webpack compatible thing, which is RS build, which is more simpler and it just have all this out of the box for them. It's just going to be light and day. And of course, it's Webpack compatible. So you definitely will be familiar with the API, like the plugins and every other thing you need to do. So the DX is really, really good, I must say.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's
So
awesome to hear. Yeah. So a follow-up question on that, to the configuration. Can you,
Mhm.
or do you have any experience with like a complex configuration with RxPack where you're like, okay, this is so much better than I would have been able to do it with Webpack, right?
No, so that's the thing, right? RsPack is one-to-one Webpack. It's just Webpack in Rust, faster Webpack, right? So the
Mm.
API is similar. It has to be for it to be compatible, right? But what I'm saying is that you don't have to write all that, because what Webpack lacked was a simpler build tool, and it's now RsBuild, right? Which you should use if you're using, if you don't like configurations, and if you're building a web project, there is no need to drop down to using RsPack. You could just use RsBuild. All right. So which is what something I would always like say you do. But I do use RsPack, and when I set up it for like a VS Code extension, something simpler, it's really simple. Like it's just a couple of lines of code, because I don't need a lot of loaders and stuff. I just need
Mhm.
to, like, take all the JavaScript, all the TypeScript, and make them into one file to send to the VS Code marketplace. So yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for
Mm-hmm.
sharing that.
Kevin, would you like to tell us about some exciting features which you find in RS backend? Of course, we need to discuss about the module federation or micro frontend support, because that has been talked a lot
Yes.
about. Yeah.
Yeah. So module federation is, it's actually one of those tech that was like, okay, what is it? It felt like a little bit of black magic, but I've been playing with it recently, even in a demo, which I'm going to make public in a little while. I'm also going to write a blog post about it, how to do modification in RsBuild in the boring JavaScript stack and stuff. So it's because, again, like I said, business needs, right? Binance needs Modi Federation and all the other users they do. And since they have the creator of Modi Federation, which is Zach Jackson, as an architect at Binance, it just makes it easy for them to, because at first, Modi Federation was first a Webpack thing. I think Webpack 4, 5 thing. And then now it's which in Modi Federation 2.0 is no longer a bundler thing. It's like this thing which is bundler agnostic, but it has first party support in both Webpack and RsPack. And of course, that means RsBuild. So it's really easy to set up. And Modi Federation, I feel if you're a big team who share code a lot, it's just code sharing on steroids, just like I've said in other interviews. Like it's just magical, because these bundlers, they have run times which most people wouldn't know, because most people be like, well, you just bundle stuff and that's the end of the bundle. No, not really. They have runtime which could actually save stuff at runtime. So imagine being able to use a module in another code base and someone share it as a provider, and then you can require that one or import that one in your own code base. And you're not doing npm or whatnot. You just, as runtime, you just require it, and RsPack or Webpack will know how to resolve it. It's just amazing. And it's powering micro frontends, which is something that big tech, big organizations are crazy about. So I love that feature. I love how easy it makes it. And I think it has superior HMR, because I've used the HMR in things like Vite and other places. I feel so there's something they do, which is, all the bundler engineering folks. So it feels faster. Like I was working on a React example with RsBuild, and the HMR, which is hot module replacement, was super fast. All right. And it was written from ground up to be this way, to be really fast, because of course DX is important. That feedback loop, they want to make it really small. So no matter how big the project is, you will see it's way more better than Webpacks, and probably Vite as well.
So you mentioned a little bit of users, right? Can you talk a bit maybe about the community support, right? And resources available to RSpec users, like if they wanted to find out more about it, and the general support that you're seeing from the community on that new builder now, right?
Yeah, so the docs are good. So in fact, we have our own Vite press, which is called RS Press, which is really, really good. So the docs, all our docs are written with that, and the docs are amazing. So you could go to rspack.org and also rsbuild.dev. The docs are really good, and of course, we have a good community as well on Discord, which you could come ask your questions. Like I ask questions there all the time, and you get the folks who are actually building this stuff to really answer your questions. So it's really, really good. But the docs are really clear. All the migration guides are good. So we have our own generator tool called Create RS Build, which you could do MPX, create RsBuild. You could pick any framework because RsBuild is framework agnostic as well. So you could pick any framework, Vue, React, Svelte. It comes with first-party plugin, which are maintained by the core team as well, which is just makes everything really good. So you could scaffold a new project if it's like an SPA. I use it in sales, so I use Shipwright for all that stuff. So it just I use it to build like a high level tool on top of it. But most people that I've seen that could just use RsBuild directly to build their stuff with the CLI tool.
So I just wanted to ask one question because this is one thing which I've heard, or most probably bundlers are actually trying to resolve is like the bundle size, the final bundle size which you
Okay.
sell. And I think that this is where ESBuild came into picture, right? After Webpack, that okay, we have the bundle size which is smallest, but of course ESBuild has another issue because it creates a lot of different chunks. Like it will just create 100 chunks
Yeah.
of probably 10 KB each. So you see, oh, but your bundle size is small. So how does RsPack handles that?
Oh yeah, big teams. There's a lot of use cases by organizations who have large modules and large projects, and they've seen significant reduction in their bundle size by just moving from something like Webpack to like RsBuild or RsPack. It is really small, and it's almost magical, and it's gonna get better because the team they are always working on. Like I think there's a roadmap where they're saying like we think we can make this even way smaller, and that is something that is in the mission statement. Like smaller builds are actually possible, and we're going to like make sure that RsPack and RsBuild makes it really small. It's already smaller, way smaller than most of the build tools out there, but it's going to get really, really way smaller. And I'm really excited to say it.
So I guess it's taking like benefit of code splitting and tree shaking and all of that.
Yes, of course it is. It's improved code splitting and tree shaking out of the box, and you know, of course, we're going to detect and take away all unused code from your final bundles, of course. All right. So that is the tree shaking, and also the codes splitting is very, very good and very, very performant. And we have a lot of code splitting strategies out of the box because Binance sort of like give you opinions like, hey, these are the various ways we split our code at Binance. We think you might use it. So they are like, I think there are like three, and it's just amazing how you don't really have to stress on, oh, how do I split my code? You just put a strategy in there and it will split it that way, and you could always change your code strategy. Yeah. It's just amazing.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
really. I see. Like as Jay mentioned, it's being supported by NX, so of course I can
Yeah.
go ahead and give it a try with
Oh
probably
yes,
React.
you
But
should.
because if I understand, it's still not supported by Angular, right? So
It
because of course the
yeah,
Angular
and
is different.
yeah, I don't think so yet. I think that will be fun. I think NX might be doing something in that because I do know they like Angular a lot. So definitely I won't be surprised that you're working on something like that.
And wish that was possible
Yeah.
because of course even NX cannot support a build tool if Angular is not supporting it. For example,
Yeah.
they
Mm.
they support Webpack and ESBuild because it's being supported by Angular now. But
Yeah.
so probably we have to wait for some probably months or years because there was a if you remember, like I think 2 days back there was a discussion on Twitter and Minko was involved. So someone asked like when we are going to support RsPack, and I think it's from NX team. So yeah, so someone
Okay.
from NX team actually, I just don't remember the name, but yeah, someone from NX
Okay.
team said, hey, how about like having a support for RsPack? And then
Yeah.
again, Minko had to first answer that, okay, this is not how it works in Angular because it's part of the compiler. And if we
Yeah. True.
introduce a new tool, it becomes part of the compiler and it's hard to change. So right now, the Vite is,
Yeah.
of course, the way to go for Angular and Vite and plus ESBuild, but that's how it will be for some time. But
Mhm.
just to ask you a question, right? So, of course, we have seen build tools coming and going away. So, what
Mhm.
do you think will be the future of RsPack? Like, of course, it's we just version 1 right now, but what do you think will be happening in future of RsPack?
Yeah, so if I'm not one to pick up a new tool because I am very fatigued of picking up new tools. I just like to just stick with a tool that works and I just use it, except something that it's uniquely positioned like RsPack and RsBuild, which is the fact that it's a tool that the company needs to exist, right? And they don't just need it's not like an open source project. Oh, let's have an open source project. It's a business tool. So I am very confident that it's definitely going to go the distance. And they have a dedicated infrastructure team who are heavily funded. All they do is just make sure the infrastructure is good, which is RsPack, RsBuild, RsDoctor, everything that have to do with infrastructure, web infrastructure at ByteDance. They make sure that it's going to be the top tier. So I think it's going to get better. And even now, a lot of migrations is happening, even from folks using Vite, moving to RsBuild or RsPack. So I think it's going to be one of the popular tools out there when it comes to bundle or build tools for the web. So yeah, they're very, very optimistic and looking forward to see it shine because it's a superb tool.
Oh, you seem very optimistic.
Yeah.
This is very interesting. I've not heard actually of RsPack or RsBuild before. So it's good to see these alternatives. So I'm definitely gonna try it out in my next project.
Yeah, sure. Let me know what you think when you do.
Yeah, of course.
Uh, so we are almost like 33, 34, 35 minutes. So one question, like of course, like it's a new build tool, right? And the problem with adopting all these new tools is education. So do you have any recommended resources where people can learn more about RSPack?
Yeah, the docs are really good. Like that's how I learn it. The docs are
Mhm.
good. So you go to rspack.org or rsbuild.dev. I would recommend if you're doing a pure web-based project like a web dev, use RsBuild and just scaffold your project. It's super good. It supports all the popular UI framework out there. It's really good. So the docs are great. And yeah, also you could join the Discord if you have any questions. It's really, really a great place for you to get on stock, like if you have any issues.
And do you have any recommendation for people to follow for RSPack?
Yeah, for sure. So you follow Zach Jackson, which is Scripted Alchemy on Twitter. Scripted Alchemy is also, I don't know his handle, but also a lead maintainer. I think he's the one building RS Build. He got the idea for RS Build. Yeah, I think Hard Fist. But I'll share his Twitter name with you. But Zach Jackson is a great one to follow.
Okay, so we will wrap this up now. So we generally ask our guests to promote if they have something to promote. Like you can practically do anything. Like you can promote anything you have in your mind.
Yeah, sure. Just go try out RsPack, try out RsPack, try out RsBuild, and, let me know what you think. You could tweet at me on Twitter at Dominos_Kelvin if you have any questions. Yeah.
And you also have a YouTube channel, right, Kevin?
Yes, I do. I have an RsBuild versus Vite video, which is a good comparison for you to see the differences between the two. If you want to like how try out an alternative to Vite, so you could go check it out. So my YouTube is still at Dominos Kelvin. YouTube at Dominos Kelvin. We could also share that link.
Good. So anything from you, Sonu, before we wrap it up?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for for explaining everything, Kevin. This was amazing.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for your time. And once this is available, this episode is available, we'll let you know. And thanks again for your time for coming on the show.
Sure, my pleasure. Thank you both for having me.